Hey everybody, this is Chris Thompson, and welcome to session number 22 of Brain Software with Dr. Mike Mandel. He owns 80 Glenn Gould CDs, a chunk of wood and a deck spike from Admiral Nelson's ship, the HMS Victory, and a Papa Lazarou coffee mug. Welcome back, Mike.
Yes, Chris, you noticed the coffee mug, I can see. We are back broadcasting from the very epicenter of universal hypnosis. No longer the globe, we've seized the entire planet since our Architecture of Hypnosis course. This is where it all happens, where hypnosis is the primary subject with NLP, brain function, brain science, learning to live a better life, and all the things that make your life glanative and fun rather than the dursative extrusion that other people are forced to live through. You have found the right podcast, the right place, and that's why we're here.
It is totally awesome, and we just went through all of the feedback forms that our students filled out at the end of the class. We're going to
the Architecture of Hypnosis course.
Yeah, we're going to debrief that in a moment, but I'm just so pleased to see everyone saying that they loved the course, that they loved the content, and they loved making all the great friends that they made as well.
All original documents on file in our office.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be putting some of these up on the website for sure in terms of the quotes, because they're just fantastic. But anyway, where the heck did you get this coffee mug?
Oh, I bought it online through BBC. Papa Lazarou is my favorite character in Britcoms. He came out of the program The League of Gentlemen. Not The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which was the film that Alan Moore wrote, but The League of Gentlemen, which was a very peculiar series a few years back that starred about 60 different characters in this horrible little town, Royston Vasey. And I think 3 guys play every single character, all 60. Just remarkable, but Papa Lazarou is the strangest character in history.
Okay, that is definitely strange. But I think I've seen some of these types of films where people play multiple characters, and they're always entertaining.
Yeah, they are. But here, let's talk about something very critical. Today, as we're recording this podcast, it is October the 4th. Which is a Thursday, 2012, and this is the 30th anniversary of the death of my hero, the late, great pianist Glenn Gould. This is the day he passed away 30 years ago, leaving the world of Bach bereft forever. And I have, in the past, made a pilgrimage to Pine Hills Cemetery in Toronto. Oh, no, Mount Pleasant Cemetery. Sorry, Pine Hills is where most of my family's buried. But Mount Pleasant Cemetery, and I've left flowers on Glenn's grave, and there's always been a pile of them there before I got there. People have come up from Oklahoma to leave flowers on this remarkable musician's grave. So that's what I'll probably do on the way home.
That at Mount Pleasant Cemetery, I used to live just south of Davisville and essentially backing onto there.
Well, that's nice, Chris. Yeah. Maybe you can arrange being buried there someday.
Yeah, no, I remember that well.
Let's talk about the Architecture of Hypnosis course.
Let's start there. Let's debrief the course because there's so much cool stuff that happened. Where do you want to start?
We had some amazing people in this course. We had attendees from Oakland, California, Regina, Saskatchewan, Nanaimo, British Columbia, all over the place. We had the best group of people in that class. We sold out as we predicted. Of course, we got a few emails last minute. Oh, is there still room? And one man grabbed the last spot. Stefan.
Doug. No, it was Doug.
Oh, it was Doug. That's right. And but then a couple more came in and, have you got room? No, sorry, guys. We said it would sell out, and it did. We will be running many, many events in the future, but this one right at the University of Toronto in the fall, beautiful weather. We hung out together. We all went for Japanese food on the last day, and this group just bonded and learned some consummate skills during that week.
Yeah, and here's the thing that I found. Well, there's many things I found interesting, but for the audience, I think there's still a lot of people out there going, oh, well, is this course suitable for me the next time it comes around? We had people who were complete newbies to the topic of hypnosis. Gil, a tool and die maker, as an example, just interested in the topic.
Interested
Fantastic
in the topic,
guy.
And he had a major shift because he's the one who would sit there and quake and sweat and go red. And he said the thought of coming up in front of the group was just terrifying for him. And he went bright red, but he still came out of the course. And I fixed him in front of the class. I won't tell how, but I think it took a long time, nearly 2 minutes.
Yeah, nearly 2 whole minutes. Right?
Yeah, and by the next day,
he was jumping up.
He was like Tony Robbins. You wouldn't believe the transformation this man.
Gil was fantastic to have in the class, and
he still is.
So hey, Gil, let's shout out to you there, and hope to see you back, man.
Yeah,
it was awesome having you in class. And so we had some really good experiences with people coming in with essentially no hypnosis background other than having listened to the podcast or whatever, checked out the website or having bought some of your CDs in the past, Mike. And then we had people who were practicing hypnotherapists, and they got huge, improvements in their skill set as well.
Yes, major shifts. And I honestly believe, I don't care what level you come in with, I've trained so many hypnosis trainers over the years because I can get you to the next level. Listen, guys, it's not bragging. It's just a statement of fact. I'm useless at so many things, and I'm the first to tell you that. I have no mechanical skill. I cannot put in a screw into a previously drilled hole without almost taking my head off with a screwdriver, even though my dad was an engineer. I have none of that stuff. I can't swim more than about 100 feet without drowning. There's a million things I can't do. I can't stand up on skates or skis. I'm useless on slippery surfaces. But there's a few things in life I've nailed, and one of them is hypnosis.
Yeah, you're sort of good at hypnosis,
Thanks,
I
Chris.
guess, right? Yeah, no.
Damn with faint praise.
So it's an absolute incredible experience, and no matter what you know about hypnosis,
we can get you up higher.
You will be drinking from a fire hose, and you will be taking home so much. I mean, it's
well, that's a good point, Chris, because some courses, and I'm very familiar with a lot of the other courses out there because I often buy their products to see what they're teaching. And I've seen a lot of other trainings, and some of them will spend a whole weekend and teach you just a couple of techniques. I'm not exaggerating. And the rationale behind this is they don't want to give you too much. They want to teach you just a couple of things and enable you to integrate them through, relentless practice for a couple of days. But that's not how Chris and I do it. We give you a smorgasbord, an enormous buffet. We let you drink from a fire hose, like I said, as Chris just said, and it's high-end stuff we're giving you. Now, we know we're going to overload you. We tell you that on day one. We're going to overload you with way too much stuff. That's cool. You're overloaded every time you go to a buffet and you decide what you want to buy. Or, you pay one price rather and decide what you're going to put on your plate. And it's the same with this course. We give you so much stuff to pick and choose from, and you will come home with more things than you can conceivably imagine. But to see the shifts in people like Lisa, who experienced mindscaping for the first time and had a major shift in a relationship in a matter of minutes. It's been wonderful to meet with all of you. We're going to get off the topic now and get on to some other things. But to all of you who did come out, lifelong friends, all of you, you were a splendiferous group. And Chris and I are going to be offering new courses in the future, more master courses. We had 4 people go through the master course this time. And I'm going to be offering for the first time 1- and 2-day trainings for people already skilled. It's going to be Mike Mandel's Wizard School.
And it is going to be awesome because the smorgasbord is so much better than grilled cheese sandwich and fries. That's right.
So, you don't get grilled cheese sandwich and fries here. Well, it is on the buffet. It's just you can have other stuff too.
Yeah, and there was another thing I wanted to add, which is now amnesia.
There's still Grevens?
Yeah, no, it wasn't that. Press the blots.
Press the blots.
No, actually, no. It's going to come to me in a second.
Wide awake now.
Yeah. I'm going to remember it. I know it's right on the tip of my tongue.
It's gone.
It's
all gone.
You're just
let it go.
All right, let it go.
So that was interesting. It's been a great podcast. Our shortest one, considerably shorter than previous ones. I think we've gone from about 38 minutes in the longest down to about 4 on this one. Yeah. So enjoy your life.
Keep talking. I'll come. It's going to come back to me.
Well, what's it when I talked about Wizard School? Was it when I mentioned that?
It was. Oh, there it just went again. I
That's
had it.
Right.
It just disappeared. What? Are you anchoring something?
Yeah, I am.
You're screwing me up. No, I just literally had it. Now I remember it. Okay, here it is.
Keep it this time.
So the thing is, and I don't want to put this in. I don't want to put these words in Mike's mouth because I'm the one who.
You still
who
haven't remembered it, have you?
No, I've got it. Mike's training is essentially the real deal, and other people's training is the on-ramp for this Mike Mandel School of Hypnosis.
Oh, thanks, Chris. I mean, I appreciate all the other trainings out there. There's some people doing some really good work, but God be praised, you are our best on-ramp because people take your courses and then come to us because they get interested in hypnosis. And the number of people say, I wish I studied with you guys first. And yeah, so do we. So we appreciate what other people are doing. There's some really good trainers out there, but there's some very poor training as well. And we commit to giving you the finest, most up-to-date hypnosis training available on the planet.
Yeah, now I don't know how I forgot such a simple comment that I wanted to make twice in a row, but Anyway, I've got it now. So let's move on. We are going to pick our next dates, and we will announce it to our email list. So get on the email list from the website. That's the only way that you're going to find out in advance what the next dates are.
And when Wizard School will be happening.
Yeah, exactly. Now, here's something cool. So on the Thursday of the class, in the afternoon, we hired a video crew.
Oh, yes.
Daniel and his guys, they did an awesome job. Now, here's what we got coming out for you all. Mike demoed 6 power inductions. Well, I guess 5 power inductions plus 1 bonus instant induction. And not only
six different people.
Yeah, 6 different subjects. And if you go to YouTube and you Google, for example, the Dave Elman, E-L-M-A-N induction, you can see the quality of an explanation and the quality of a demonstration that you get from Dr. Mike Mandel doing hypnosis. So for people who are interested in learning more about these power inductions, which are essentially all leverage inductions, well, you can talk about that more, but this is going to be about a 1-hour DVD teaching you all that you need to know to get started with doing rapidly powerful leverage hypnotic inductions.
Yes, and we're going to provide this as a DVD in a nice package, also with, hang on, Chris, I have a tickle in my trachea.
No editing, no editing.
No editing, you're hearing it live. What we're going to do is provide this DVD in a package with a CD, so it'll be Chris and I, like the podcast, but a little more serious than this, because Chris won't be forgetting anything.
Right, and I'll be asking you questions about these power inductions.
So you'll get a really good grounding, and you'll find 5 power inductions you can use, whether you want to do it in the street, whether you want to do hypnosis casually at parties, if you want to do it on stage. And if you're a practicing hypnotherapist, these will be inductions that will be gold to you. You won't waste your time with that Dursative, hideous, progressive relaxation induction. We want you to have skills that are powerful, plus 1 sledgehammer induction added at no charge.
Yeah, I mean, I still can't believe that people advertise hypnosis training where we're going to teach you the progressive relaxation, bore people into a trance.
Oh, it's just horrible, Chris. It's absolutely nightmarish. It's so out of date. And now I understand there's even a couple of people reviving mesmerism. Let's get the leeches back as well, shall we?
It's horrible.
Let's get back bloodletting and leeches and...
if you don't know what the bloodletting story is, you've got to come and take the
Look
course.
At the calendar, people. It's 2012. And if the Mayans are right, we ain't got long, so let's have fun with this stuff.
So here's a question for you, Mike. The Power Induction CD, DVD CD combo that comes out, is this going to be something that you think a novice should buy, or only someone who already knows a little bit about hypnosis and is somewhat polluted?
It should only be bought by a human being.
So there you go. So if you know nothing and you want to learn some of the foundations of inductions,
you want to zone your friends out, this will do it for you.
Yeah, this will be a good
I even put on this my REM induction out of human givens theory. Never taught it before. Taught it in this course. It's going to be in this product. The triple bind conversational induction I came up with, that you can hypnotize someone from across the room. You remember I hypnotized Maggie from across the room without warning with it. Yeah. And we'll be doing a lot of things: single finger catalepsy induction, clench induction. I can't remember. There's a third, fifth one on there.
You did kinesthetic ambiguity, which is
Derek Balmer
so powerful.
Use that on TV shows a lot. But,
and then this sledgehammer instant induction at the end.
Yes. Okay. End of commercial.
So, there you go. So anyway, you're going to learn all that stuff, and we will continue to put more high quality demos on YouTube as well. So send us emails if you have...
What do you want to see? We'll do it for you.
Exactly.
We are here for you. We are your surrogate parents online.
Lots of free stuff. Not everything is for sale.
That's correct.
All right, let's talk...
Hey, let me tell you my last week, buddy. I was, this is, like I said, Thursday as we're recording this. Monday, I had a keynote in Toronto, early morning, which, of course, I hate, not being a morning person at all. Tuesday, this week, I did my first forensic keynote at Conestoga College. And it was killer. It was all university kids, college kids, and I spoke for an hour and a half on forensic hypnosis, forensic interviewing techniques, because as you know, I trained all the Ontario hostage negotiators not once but twice. And then the third one was forensic graphoanalysis and explaining how handwriting can be used to detect psychopathy and intentional deceit, lies, manipulation, and so on. That was such a hit. I said after 75 minutes, I'll talk for 15 minutes if anyone has any questions now. Well, they had questions, and people wanted me to look at their handwriting and see if they were nuts, to use the medical term. We had over 40 kids line up for an hour, and I went through everybody's handwriting until they were all done. My point in saying all this is there is a huge connection between hypnosis and handwriting analysis when it's done properly, and so many people, including from our recent course, have expressed interest in learning how to accurately detect deceit and manipulation and so on from handwriting. We're going to be putting out a course on this too, so maybe we'll do wizard school on that.
I'm really glad to hear you say that, because I'll tell you, I mean, over the last couple of years since we started doing stuff on the website together and podcasts and all that, there's been so many people who have asked questions about the graphoanalysis, the handwriting analysis. I don't know if I'm using the trademark term there or not.
Well, graphoanalysis is a trademark term. Graphology is the generic term.
Okay,
I'm trained in a couple of forms, graphoanalysis being one of them.
So I'll stick to graphology then.
Yes, that's generic. You won't offend anyone.
But you
just call that handwriting
during the hypnosis class. For those of you, not that we want to keep coming back to this, but we are again. We do this Mike does this thing called open frame. So at the beginning of the day, after every break, after the lunch break, and then again after the afternoon break. So there's like 4 open frames a day where people are just invited to ask any question they want. And we inevitably get a bunch of questions that end up segueing to a discussion of handwriting. And the interest level is immense. People are so interested in this topic. And I can see why. I mean, it is fascinating to look at someone's handwriting and realize that there is true meaning in there.
Well, yes. I mean, this is all being empirically verified now. And I run into occasionally people, including one of my relatives, who says, well, I don't believe in any of that. And the funny thing is that shows up in his writing. He makes his small letter D's and T's. Now, I'm talking cursive script, not print. But his small letter D's and T's have an unusually long stem, which is the graphoanalytical term of vanity. When you see that in handwriting, where the small letter D and T have a stem that is about 3 or more times the height of the mundane letters, the trait of vanity operates, which means this person is unteachable, uncorrectable. They think they know it all. They know subjects in depth that they've never even studied.
Oh, yeah, I love people like that. So, you know what? Let's talk about this briefly. Let's talk about the 2 types of people in this world.
Oh, yes. I've said this on CBC when I was Relationship Mike for 2 seasons, because as a communication specialist, it ties in well to relationships. And this was CBC television out of Toronto. And the interesting thing was I made this comment once, and people find it rather interesting, but it's obvious. I said there's only 2 types of people in the world. And I usually joke and say those who divide people into 2 types and those who don't. And I'm glad I'm not one of them. And everyone, ha ha ha, because it's brilliantly hilarious.
It is a funny line.
Thank you. It's not my own.
But all seriously.
But seriously, there's only 2 groups of people in the world. Those who continue to grow, change, and integrate their entire lives. And those who are special, who don't have to, because the world will change and grow and integrate instead for them, to accommodate them. And anytime I say that and someone gets their back up and starts to bristle a bit, it's because they're special. So if you're irritated by me saying it, you're special. And it is incumbent upon us as human beings to want to live a good life and help people and so on. We have to grow and change. And it takes courage. Someone told me they thought I was pretty integrated. Well, believe me, integration, no one ever gets there all the way, certainly not me. But it is a process that does not end until we die. And you have to be willing to look into the dark depths of your own heart. I mean, you have to be able to face the abyss and see the things about yourself, the Jungian shadow that you do not like, and then do some self-work to deal with these things. And if you are willing to do that and to go through all the pain and discomfort of facing that you are not the wonderful person you think you are, none of us are, then integration and change can start, and we can live a much more serene, gentle life and be kinder to other people and see other people transform too.
Now, you remember yesterday I asked you about something you'd said to me just resonated, the concept of being an integrated person. And you talked to me about where that actually comes from.
Well, right. Integration comes from the same word as integrity. And integrity is when there is integration present. We are all a bundle of different parts. We have one part that shops in the grocery store, and we have a part that gives us interesting dreams, and we have a part that knows how to ride a bike, and we have parts that negotiate, and all these different things. When we are integrated, our parts tend to get along with each other. You're not dealing with internal conflict.
And there's a really good NLP model around parts and integration.
Yes, there is. And parts can be integrated through NLP processes, or they can be integrated by simply growing and changing and facing things and dealing with your stuff, because we all have it. But if I look back over the years, I want to be able to say I'm more integrated this year than I was last year. You know, and certainly more than I was 10 years ago and 20 and so on. It takes us time to put aside our pride and our arrogance and our ego and, you know, our self-aggrandizement. And it's not easy to do, but we are always ultimately happier if we do. That's my definition of love. I said in the class, love isn't a fuzzy feeling. It's not an oxytocin release because you just had sex with somebody you met and now think, oh, I'm in love with her. No, it's not that at all. Love is putting the welfare and happiness and well-being of another person above your own. That's love.
Yeah, and coming back to integration, I like what you said a lot, and I like to simplify it and say you're either growing or you're dying.
Oh, that's nice. And if you're dying, you're probably dragging somebody else down with you.
Yeah, and it's very simple. So let's all grow, guys. Let's move on, and let's talk about... so a couple of things. I wanted to make sure that we don't just talk about hypnosis class for the sake of talking about hypnosis class, but some of the things that people learned that I thought were interesting. So just observing the questions and the answers that were coming out. A lot of people really didn't understand until they experienced it that while you're in trance, you have this observer mode. So since we were just talking about parts, right, you can think of yourself as part of you is in trance and is actually doing the trance, and part of you is observing it and noticing that you're in trance. So there are a lot of people saying, well, but I'm aware of everything that happens.
Well, you better be, because if you're not aware, the state is death.
Yeah, it's called dead, right? So you're in trance, you're playing the role of the subject, and you're playing the role of the observer at the same time.
I'd clarify that a little bit, Chris. I know exactly what you're saying, and I agree in principle, but I wouldn't say playing the role. I think what we need to look at here to be certain that we analyze this in an accurate model that is by all means useful is dissociation. The separation of parts, things, whatever, is a natural concomitant part of hypnosis. So conscious and unconscious dissociate from each other. You can dissociate someone's hand and make it feel numb, and then use that to cause a cataleptic state, and then use that to cause glove anesthesia so you can make the hand completely pain-free. That's dissociation too, in a way. You can dissociate a hand and have it right while you're carrying on a conversation with the person. But one of the naturally occurring dissociations that occurs in hypnosis is the observer and subject tend to be separated. So in other words, as Chris said, you are in the trance as the subject, but your brain dissociates, or your mind dissociates at least, into an observer mode as well. So part of you is in the trance, and part of you is watching the trance. And until people realize that, they think they're doing hypnosis wrong. Oh, but I heard what you were saying. I was aware. Yeah, you're supposed to be aware, but we get you in a state where the critical faculty opens up and permits information to get into the unconscious mind and affect your behavior, hopefully for good and for useful purposes. Now, this is where self-hypnosis has traditionally been problematic, because if you go into a hypnotic state at the hands of a hypnotist, he or she will cause your dissociation to occur, so you're both the observer of the trance and the subject in the trance. When you do self-hypnosis, you have to be the hypnotist too. So you've got to hypnotize yourself, so you're the hypnotist and the subject, and you have to observe it from the outside. So you have a threefold dissociation, and you still have to make it all work. And that's why classical methods of self-hypnosis simply aren't that effective.
And if you're experienced at going into trance with a hypnotist, then you learn about trance, because trance is all about learning about going into trance, and then you can do self-hypnosis more effectively, can you not?
You certainly can. In fact, one of the best ways of going into self-hypnosis is to experience heterohypnosis, being hypnotized by someone else first. Then just go back into that state.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Next topic I wanted to talk about is hypnotizability. Actually, hypnotizability I want to talk about on the next podcast that we do.
Oh, yes, because we read that interesting article.
We have enough content to fill up an entire podcast, which we will record next time. But here's another thing that I noticed. Suggestibility tests, when you're teaching the direct paradigm, not the Ericksonian paradigm, suggestibility tests and convincers, and I think people get confused sometimes. And we've talked about this in the past, but suggestibility tests are tests that a hypnotist will use with a subject to convince the subject that he or she is a good hypnotic subject. It's all about making them feel like they believe they will go into hypnosis.
Well,
right?
Apart from them believing, though, you're also triggering through doing hypnotic testing, through suggestibility tests, you are triggering through heteroaction. A hypnotic state, because testing for hypnosis causes hypnosis. I mean, the amazing Kreskin, who claims hypnosis doesn't exist, and all his arguments are red herrings. He tries to frame it as a special state, and we're not saying it's a special state, and all these different things he's arguing from 30 years ago. And so he's essentially doing hypnosis, but not calling it that. He's calling it power of suggestion. He's doing a progressive testing induction. So he'll lock your hands, bring your fingers together, lock your eyes. All of these different things, testing for suggestibility, are causing a trance to develop, but through something called heteroaction. So every time someone fulfills one of these suggestibility tests, it moves them momentum-wise towards a hypnotic trance.
Which is why some of these direct method inductions, I guess, aren't really inductions at all. They're just suggestibility testing, and then you get a trance as a result.
Right. Where does the line does the line exist, between suggestibility testing and actual induction?
Right. Whereas now convincers are something that the hypnotist will use with the subject so that when they come out of trance, they are convinced that they were in fact hypnotized. So
suggestibility tests are pre-hypnosis.
Right.
Convincers are done within a hypnotic trance. Maybe amnesia and time distortion, which are the classic Ericksonian methods that don't even have to be suggested. If you have a deep enough trance, you'll get them a lot of the time. But also convincers like leg catalepsy, where your legs become too heavy to move, you can't stand up. This can be suggested within the trance. So when the subject comes out of it later and says, I wasn't hypnotized because I heard everything you said, even though you tell them 500 times, they're going to hear and understand everything you say, and that's normal hypnosis. So then you can point back at the convincer and say, remember I told you to try to stand up and you couldn't, and you were straining and trying, but your legs didn't work? Well, yeah, but I think I could have if I wanted to. I just, didn't. You didn't. So it did work. Yeah, I guess I was hypnotized after all. So suggestibility tests are done in advance, which build positive momentum through heteroaction, Andre Weizenhofer, and convincers are done within hypnotic states that the hypnotist can point back to and say, you were in a hypnotic trance.
Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted you to explain, because I think that's an important clarification. You know what? There are a couple of things here I want to talk about, but I think we can save it for the next podcast, where we're going to talk a lot about supposed suggestibility or hypnotizability. We have so many thoughts on this. So how about let's save the rest of it. Let's move on to the closing metaphor, and then podcast number 23 is going to absolutely rock.
Okay, I've got an interesting metaphor today, Chris. Again, this is a true one. Most of them are. And although this one did not actually happen to me, it happened to my best friend in the world, Michael C. Anthony, who is a Florida hypnotist, born in Niagara Falls, New York, lived in the Toronto area for a while. He and I became very good friends. And he's recovered completely from a kidney transplant almost a year ago. His brother was good enough to give him one. He asked me to donate a kidney, and I just told him to drop dead. There's no way on earth I'm going to do that. This is the kind of friendship we have. So, I was in hospital with pneumonia once on IV, antibiotics, and oxygen at death's door, and he leaned forward to me with his sense of humor and whispers, "It's not pneumonia, Mike. It's undiagnosed terminal cancer," and then walks out of the hospital, knowing that one day we would laugh at it, provided I recovered. So we have this great sense of humor together. Very good friend, but he had an event happen that absolutely blew our minds. He was on tour in the U.S. doing his hypnosis shows, mostly in the college and university circuit. Now, back then, in the 90s, about 1996, I expect, a lot of people had as their start page on their computer something from, "Oh, there's someone phoning the studio right now. Chris is going to take the call." A lot of people had on their computer as their start page the Excite start page. So Excite.com put out this particular page that you could customize, and you can have your bank account on it and the newspapers you're interested in and what kind of news you wanted to get, what entertainment news and what color you wanted, and you could customize it about a million different ways. And Mike and I both did this. So you'd have to log in through a fairly sophisticated system, just the way you do with online webmail now, and your webmail would be there as well. Well, Mike's traveling through the U.S., and he happens to be driving through, I believe it was Ohio, with a friend of his, Jack. And as they're driving through a town, Jack said, "Boy, I'd really like to know how my stocks are doing." Mike says, "Well, why don't we run into a mall, get something to eat, and maybe we can find an internet kiosk and, someone that's selling high-speed internet service, whatever, and we can check there." So they thought this was a good idea. A little while later, they found a shopping mall, drove in, parked, and started walking down one of the hallways in the mall and looking. And, of course, in the distance, they see an internet kiosk where a guy's selling high-speed internet service and demonstrating it. As they are approaching this from about 50 feet away, Mike notices that the colors on the screen are identical to his Excite start page that he's personalized. As he gets even closer, he sees it says at the top of the page, "Hello, Mike," which freaks him out. Then he sees on it the Toronto Star, the newspaper he reads. He sees all the news that's customized for him and his Canada Trust bank account he can log into. It is his own personal Excite page with all his customizations out of millions in a mall on the screen. And he walks into it. And he said, "That's my Excite page." And the guy selling the internet service said, "Yeah, a lot of people use Excite." He said, "No, you don't understand. That's my personal one." He said, "I've got to log this out." So he had to log out. And the guy said, "Wow, you're freaking me out, making me want to go to church or something." People said, "Oh, maybe somebody knew he was going to." No, he's driving through Ohio, goes into a mall, and there's this personalized Excite page on the screen. Absolutely freaked him out.
All right, well, that wraps up session number 22 of Brain Software with Dr. Mike Mandel. I'm Chris Thompson, and we had a blast recording this one for you, and I hope you send in more and more questions. We love getting your questions. Questions at MikeMandelHypnosis.com is the place to send them. Also, remember to go to iTunes, leave a rating for the show, and remember to head on over to our website and get on the mailing list, because we will be sending you out even more content. The ebook that Mike wrote a while back, we're just reformatting it. It's nearly done now. And we've got 20 Q&A hypnosis videos that we recorded. Mike explaining a lot of the basics about hypnosis and demystifying it for you to explain how it really works. So you'll enjoy those. MikeMandelHypnosis.com. We'll see you back here on session number 23.
Hello, Dave. Dave. Hello? Is Dave there? Dave?